What made you decide to farm in Ukraine instead of farming in the Netherlands?
Oh, I was expanded from the Netherlands. I was not. No, it was.
They kicked you
They
out?
kicked me out, yeah, and they wanted to send me to Siberia, but I got stuck in Ukraine. No, it was just a huge farming opportunity. I did an internship in Russia, and after my studies, I worked in Russia for half a year, and I visited Ukraine during that time for a few times, and I worked with directors and normal tractor drivers, and my idea was that you need management. The only thing to get this country in production is like good management. So because there's hardworking people, there's amazing soils, huge fields. So there's all enough rain. Climate is good. So that was in the love for farming. So that's how I ended up there.
Excellent. What are the biggest challenges to farming there?
There's all that. There's people always asking me that. It's just challenges you face on the go, and you have to be flexible solving them. But like a big thing is corruption in Ukraine in general, but that's not really a farming challenge. I mean, the pure farming challenges, they're like the same all over the world, I guess. And farmers are always complaining. So, that's. But I mean, in general for Ukraine, corruption is, and that people don't trust each other through that. That's the biggest thing. It prevents cooperation amongst farmers, and sharing information. That's because you could learn a lot from each other, And I'm trying to be. I mean, a lot of neighboring farmers, they always phone me and asking what's your yields and what have you done, and I'm always trying to share. I don't have any secrets for anybody. So, and now I'm trying with a friend of mine who runs a kind of consulting company, a Ukrainian guy, to get a little bit more organized to share information from the area on a bigger scale, that you can make use of neighbors' mistakes, for example.
Uh-huh.
So that's a big challenge.
What are the opportunities?
In Ukraine,
Mm-hmm.
Yield increase. I think Ukraine, and I mean, in general, or on average, Ukraine can, I think, double its yield or maybe even triple its yield.
And what kind of yields do you have now?
No, we cannot triple our yields or double our yields, but Ukraine on average good. And but like for example, corn yields we have. This year it's from 5 tons till 12 tons per hectare. That's like from 80 bushels till 200 bushels per hectare. And because we had a drought since the end of June, so that's that. But I think our long-term corn yield should be above 10 tons per hectare, which is like 180 bushels, something like this.
Tell me about the credit challenges that you face.
I mean, we have been financing for as long as we've been there. So and we've never been a second late with repaying our financing. We've never been late with paying our interest rate. So that is for us. It's not a big problem, but it's always the uncertainty. You only get it for a year, for example. So it's always, now we are busy refinancing working capital. So it's always a risk. Do we get it, or is the bank getting really cautious and don't want to give it to us? But so that's and the interest rate is in local currency it's like over 20%, 23%, and in dollars it's around 10%. So that's in long term is a problem. Long term financing.
I understand that you have a lot of landlords at the farm, the land that you farm.
Yeah, and so you had the former collective farms, like the Soviet state collective farms, and so they privatized after in the beginning of the 90s they started privatizing everything, and so everybody got a share in the former collective farm. So the machinery was divided amongst the people, and land as well. So if you have a field of 100 hectares, everybody would get like around 3 hectares in that field of 100 hectares. So the field of 100 hectares has about 30 owners. And so in total we have like over 4,000 landlords. And all of them owing about 3 hectares.
How do you communicate with all those landlords?
That's a challenge as well. And but in every so it's a few villages we have land in. So in every village we have kind of a representative. So they can always go there, and through them they can decide things, organize things. And once a year we pay the rent for the land, either in cash, so real cash, or in commodities like wheat, barley, corn. And people they need it for their from the wheat they bake bread for themselves, or they use it for feed, for chicken, for pigs, and corn and barley as well.
So are a lot of your employees former people who worked on collective farms?
All of them. They are all from the village or from the surrounding villages. So, and most of them have a plot of land which we lease as well.
How many employees do you have?
It depends a little bit, between 300 and 400. But it's also many of them working in vegetables. We do a lot with vegetables. There's a lot of handwork involved. So like about 150 are in vegetables, and then a big share is in the dairy, in the pigs. The security guys, it's a lot of people, and administration people, is a lot of them as well, because the tax system in Ukraine is also kind of hopeless. So you need a lot of people to fill out pieces of paper.
Where do you see your operation going?
At the moment we stay on the 16,000 hectares, and we want to just make it more efficient, increase the yields, and increase our dairy operation. But at the moment it's a loss-making business, but because the milk price is just too low. But it will change again within time. So so increasing efficiency, increasing yields on the arable, and then expanding the dairy in the future.
Very good. International trade. How does the whole trade picture impact your operation?
We are just world market price minus handling cost in the port, and minus transportation to the port, and and we sell directly to the international grain traders, and we are actually on paper we export our products, but it goes in the ship of the grain trader, and then it goes to wherever.
So do you face any barriers with export?
No. At the moment not. And because the production in Ukraine is high enough, and that's the only source of one of the few sources of hard currency income for Ukraine. So, and the production is high enough, So I'm not expecting trade barriers on that. But it's like world market commodities. But like. What is it? Pork. Ukraine used to export, I think, to Russia, and that's because of the war going on in the east. Although they are just blocking everything now.
How does war impact you? Is it more than just that?
Mainly mentally. Are you morale, or how do you say that? We pay some additional tax to finance the war. Nobody really knows what the war is about. Might be the oligarchs fighting amongst each other, and Russia influencing it and sending military over it, creating instability for Ukraine. So it's really a war about nothing, and so nobody really knows what he's fighting for. And then they start to get workers to go to the army. People guys from not from our village, from one of our villages. Soldiers missed in action, so his father works for us. So those kind of things, they don't happen. They don't really happen in Western Europe or in the Netherlands. So that is, it's mainly mentally that it's affecting you, and that's the problem.